And welcome back to the Rookie Hour. This is episode 3 of our podcast. We want to thank you so much for watching. My name's Ash-Hur Ahmad.
I'm Hussein, Darugar.
And this is Priyadarshan, Socraties.
And our topic for this episode is college life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted that when we first asked for topics. They were pretty excited about it. I don't know why. It seems like this is a great time to talk about.
A lot of high schoolers have, especially juniors, have a lot of questions about college. And we have two very good guests with us for those topics.
Yeah. These are my sisters, Areebah.
Hi, I'm Usher's younger sister. My name's Areebah. I'm 21, and I'm currently in college. I go to Rice University.
And Anoosha.
Hey guys, I'm Anoosha. I'm his oldest sister. I went to UT a few years back, so hook 'em horns.
Yeah, I think we can get right into it. Before that, I can just say that last week's episode also did pretty well.
We are astonished by the amount of support we're getting from our friends and our family. We want to thank you so much for watching.
For sure.
Yeah,
120 views almost, I think, right?
Yeah, we didn't expect to hit that target for a long time.
Yeah. And if you guys want to follow us even more, we have Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcast. That's up. So be sure to follow and listen to us, please.
Yeah, it's all at the same handle, I think. The Rookie Hour. Just search it up. It should be there. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think we can get straight into it. It's going to be college, and
I think
questions I've been wanting us to ask.
First, we should just ask, like in general, what is college like? Tell us about it.
Yeah.
What would you tell a high schooler about it and stuff?
I think Anoosha can go first, and then Areebah.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I went to UT. I went to UT Austin, which I think everybody from Texas, Cypress is familiar with that one. And UT is a big school. Like I think there's a 40 or 50,000 undergrad and graduate students combined. So I definitely had a contrasting experience to Areebah. I went to a really big school, whereas her school is much smaller. So for me, moving to Austin, which was a whole new city, so that's a great experience. And then, of course, meeting like a ton of new people, which you'll do anyways, regardless of where you go. But UT definitely has like thousands of people, so there's someone for everyone there. Yeah, and just FYI, I was a bio major.
Okay. I think it's
And Areebah?
Areebah's turn? Yeah.
So I go to Rice University, and like Anoosha said, it is teeny tiny. So I actually graduated from Cy Ranch, and my graduating class then was 900, maybe like 950 people. And Rice total undergrad is 4,000 people, so it's about 1,000 people per grade. So it was about the same size as my high school. And even though it is a teeny tiny school, it definitely feels a lot bigger and you have a lot more freedom than you did in high school. But I did end up meeting a lot of people from all over the U.S. because Rice attracts a lot of people from the East Coast, the West Coast, and even abroad. And it honestly felt a lot like summer camp for me for the first 2 years because it's just so small and everyone lives in the dorms and there's a lot of camaraderie.
Would y'all say y'all adjusted really well to after high school to college? Was it easier or how bad or hard was it?
The transition.
Yeah.
That's a good question, and I think that'll be different like for everyone. I went to college, and I actually at UT. I mean, obviously, I also went to Cy Ranch, so I knew a few people at UT already just because I had gone to high school with them. So I think I definitely like clung on to the people from high school for a little bit, just because I was comfortable with them already. But and I'm sure we'll talk about it. Every school has different ways for you to like get to know people because everybody's in the same boat, right? Like nobody's gonna come in with a ton of friends. But I think like the friends that I made freshman year, I'm still friends with today. So definitely, I was looking forward to it. I like went in with an open mind. So I thought I did pretty okay with adjusting, and I was super excited to like be there and meeting people.
Eva?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, just continue. It's good.
Yeah, I think for me, I had a pretty similar experience. Rice actually does a really good job of forcing you into a lot of friendships when you first get there. So you have a lot of like freshman groups, so like are your O week group, and you have a lot of older mentors, and they're kind of like they volunteer for a position, and they're supposed to be there to guide you through your first year. And through those people, you usually make a lot of your first friends, and they also have a residential college system, so you eat lunch and dinner, and you kind of have a lot of the same classes with the people you live around. So in that way, you kind of bond over the classes and different events that you have in the dorms and in common spaces. And I didn't really have that many people to cling on to when I went to college, but I think the transition was definitely easier for me because I wasn't super far from home. So if I did need to like go home, if I was homesick, I could go home. And there was like a lot of avenues for me to just try new things, meet new people, and see what the things I like.
Yeah.
I
that's a
want to
good segue.
add,
Mhm.
like, living on campus, I think was probably like the best. I know at Rice you have to live on campus the first year. At UT, it's obviously such a big school. It's just first come, first serve who signs up. But if given the chance, like I would say live on campus. I know maybe sharing a bathroom isn't like the most glamorous thing, but definitely the best way to meet people is just like being right there with everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you definitely have to at Rice, and some other schools definitely recommend it, but it definitely adds a lot to the experience, and it makes it seem like more of an adventure.
So compared from Rice and UT, what's an average day in college look like?
I can go first. So I think it changed from my freshman and sophomore year. So my freshman and sophomore year, I lived in the dorms. But pretty much, I would wake up in the morning. Some people don't wake up in the morning. I was kind of an early riser. And I would walk down to our commons, grab some breakfast. And usually there were some of my friends there in the morning. And honestly, sometimes there were people I had classes with. Like my first class would be with these people. So I would eat breakfast with them, talk, and then we would go to class. Then maybe like I had a little bit of break, and then I would chill, maybe work on homework, or maybe just like hang out in the quad. Then lunch would come, and we'd all eat lunch together. Sometimes there was lunch games. Sometimes there's like a seminar during lunch that you want to go to, maybe about study abroad, or maybe about leadership, or even like something like not that productive, or like a club. And then like kind of rinse and repeat. You go to class or you go to lab. Labs usually take longer, like 3 or 4 hours, and then you kind of have your rest of your day like for yourself. Some people have like an a cappella like meeting. I sometimes would find time to exercise, or I would go to a TA session, study if I had an exam, hang out with friends, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can go, Anoosha. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, what do you guys think the difference is between the workload, like the actual, like teaching and learning from high school to college?
I think that actually ties in with the schedule a lot more. So obviously when you're in high school, or at least when I was at Sci Ranch, we had 7 classes a day, and like you're maybe taking 4 or 5 AP classes, and like every teacher thinks that their AP class is like the most important, so they're all giving you homework every single night.
Yeah.
Like aside from the orgs that you're in or extracurriculars, right? So I feel like in high school you get a lot of more, like not tedious work, but a lot of like homework, a lot of assignments, a lot of projects. But college is different in that you only take 12 to like 18 hours, depending on what kind of workload you're looking to do. 12 hours is full time. So if you really just kind of want to coast, you could do that. If you want to like be more aggressive about getting your classes done, you could do 18 hours. And it's also on an AB schedule. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have a set of classes. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have a different set of classes. So there would be days where I'd have like 2 classes max, or maybe like a lab in a class. But like Areebah said, the rest of your day is kind of up to you, whether you want to spend that time studying, or you want to go to a TA session or a club or whatever it is. But I found it to be like a big change from high school, meaning like, because you're not having 7 classes a day, and they don't all give you homework either. In college, at least at UT, it's a lot of listen to the lecture, just make sure you're studying your notes. You might get homework from maybe your science or your math classes, but most of them didn't really give you a lot of tedious work. It was
Mm.
just like listen to lecture, make sure you're understanding it, go to the midterm, go to the final. So definitely less like paper, less homework, that kind of thing. But then it does change the fact that your grades are based upon like 2 or 3 major exams, and there's no like
Gotcha.
buffers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's people are really afraid of how college is gonna be at this point in age. Also with like the friends matter. Like I think y'all said that it was pretty easy to make friends. I guess I think that's a good thing because everybody here is like, okay, I'm gonna leave my friends and go to from high school to college. How bad is it gonna be? Is it gonna be easy to make friends or not? And I think y'all have kind of said that it's pretty decent, right?
It
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
wasn't bad because I think everybody's nervous when they get there. Like,
Mm.
oh, I don't know anyone here. But I think schools know that. And like Areebah mentioned, that there's like race does stuff for the freshmen in particular. UT does the same thing, especially the first month of school. There's all these like org fairs or freshman invite, and like, come to the freshman comedy show, and like you get to meet more people.
Mm.
But I would also say like find something that you enjoy. Like if you enjoyed, like I think like Ariba like really enjoyed tennis. Like find the tennis group on campus. At least that'll give you something in common to, get to know
Gotcha.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you might find yourself, like, for me, I think I got into, like, a limbo space when I was a freshman where I was like, oh, I'm not that close to my high school friends anymore, and I'm getting closer to these college friends, and you're, like, not really sure, though, but I feel like that time really passes, and, like, looking back, you'll be like, oh, wow, it was really easy to make friends.
I think sticking with the friends topic, what type of friends or what type of people would you suggest a person going into college would need to hang out with?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Ariba, do you want to do that one?
What type of person to look for in college?
Yeah.
Like, as a friend?
Yeah.
What is your goal? I guess that's the question.
I mean,
I think for me, I was looking for people like kind of the opposite of the people I hung out with in high school. And not like in a bad way. I think I was just like looking for different people and fun people. So I ended up making a lot of friends who were like a little bit more into school and more into being involved, I guess. And I think in high school I was definitely like too cool for school and not as like spirited. And even though Rice doesn't have that much of a culture around like going to football games and that kind of stuff, we do have a culture around your residential college. So I definitely looked for people who I thought like cared about that kind of stuff and like wanted to be friends with them and get involved.
gotcha.
Yeah. All right, and
Yeah, I think you're just gonna naturally kind of fall into, your major because you're gonna see those people the most. And you also want to, I mean, at least for me, because I lived in the dorms, I lived in a pretty social dorm. So those were kind of like my social friends. And then I had like my people who were like applying to med school kind of friends. So it just happens naturally, I would say.
yeah. And what factors do you think students who are applying to college should look for? Because lots of people, they just go to the state school or they want to get to an Ivy League, but is there anything else that they should look for in a college?
I think I didn't really think about how big the school was. And there's definitely state schools that are smaller than UT, for example. There's definitely some in the middle. So I would like definitely think about that because Rice is really small and you will end up not necessarily getting bored, but you will run out of fresh faces, I guess.
On the opposite side of that, though, UT is so big that if you already know that you don't like to be like someone lost in a sea of kids, like my freshman classes probably had like intro bio, intro chem, all those probably had like upwards of 300-400 people, and really you had to be like a self-starter because the professor, there's no way that they can like know all of your faces. So if you wanted to like get to know the professor, you needed a recommendation, like you had to be the one to go to office hours and like make yourself known. So if you know that that's not an environment for you, then maybe don't go to a giant school like that. But I also, what I didn't really think about when applying was like, what do you want to major in, right? So if you
Yeah.
know that you want to do business, and then you look at the business program, like at UT McCombs, like they've got a great one. Compare
Yeah.
those. Don't just compare the school. Like look at where you're going, what they offer in terms of your major, what connections could you make there, where do people who majored in that major or even in that realm, where do they end up?
Yeah, that's a really good point because I do know a lot of people who are interested in business, but actually Rice does not have a business major, and that is a really common major. So, and even though you can pick whatever major you want once you come to Rice, they don't have as many options as UT does or some other schools. So, if you're going in with like more of an exploratory mindset, then I would definitely recommend making sure that you kind of lined up some of your options and know for sure that your school has that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, including myself, at this point, since we're talking about the major stuff, don't really know what they wanted to be or 100%, you know?
Yeah.
We have a couple options. We're thinking about it.
Lots of people were wondering, does the major you first pick really matter?
I would say like 80% of people change their major in college. Areebah, would you agree with that?
I would go as far as to say like 98.
98. I don't know
That's my
anyone
number.
who didn't change their major, and I'm not even talking once. Like I knew people who changed
Yeah,
their major
multiple times
many,
in the
many
same
times.
day, in the same week.
I changed my major, I think, 3 times, or 2 times, I guess, so 3 majors in total.
Okay.
So I don't think that's an issue. I feel like the only time that that's a major issue is if you're like, let's say you're doing bio and you're like, well, never mind, I don't want to do bio. I want to do radio, film, television. Okay, then there's not going to be no overlap. You might be adding an extra year for yourself. But for the most part, if you know generally I like math or I like science or I know I want to do business, the first year or two you're going to be doing basics anyways, so it really kind of doesn't matter what your major is as long as you know what kind of the school that you're going into is. So if you're going into school of business, you're going to take economics, macro, micro, everybody's going to be in it no matter what their like actual concentration is. So don't be afraid of that. I also know plenty of people at UT who came in just as general undergraduate studies and then made a decision after taking a couple basics. The only thing I would kind of be wary of is if you're going to go undergraduate studies, and I think this applies to any school, is you then have to apply to the college that you want to major in. So if you start in undergraduate studies and then you want to go to computer science, you have to apply to go into the computer science school within UT. And that's, I think, a little bit harder, especially if you're trying to do like engineering or computer science, because you have to maintain like a certain GPA to be able to transfer into that school. But honestly, people change their majors all the time.
Okay, so that's not something we need to be worried about, right? Because
you will change your major.
Okay.
I promise you. You're going to go in.
I've changed my major. I think I came in as a biochemistry major. Then I briefly dabbled in political science. Then I was an English major for a good while, and then I ended up making up my own major because I was just that confused. So, it's super common. And something to look for is if you really don't know, like Anoosha said, at UT, you do have to apply to the school that you're majoring in. So, natural science school, the communication school. But at Rice, you don't. So, you're kind of free to do whatever major you want. So, look into those requirements if that's something you're concerned about.
And when, in like your time in high school, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up or after you graduated college? Or like which major you wanted to choose? Because I think a lot of people are still confused about
100%.
what they want to do when they grow up.
I think these were from the Instagram posts I conducted, or questions. Because a lot of people had these questions about the major and when did you figure out what you wanted to be, I guess.
That's tough. I would say a lot of people, like more than half, more than 60, maybe more than 70, don't necessarily major in something that is relevant to what they do professionally. And that's totally okay. Usually you kind of figure it out what you want to do professionally, and I don't even mean your passion. Just like kind of what you think your next step is going to be after college, somewhere along the way in your 4 years. So some people for the first time are exposed to consulting, but they're like an engineering major. So even though they have this like really great intensive background in chemical engineering, they might end up doing like engineering consulting that doesn't necessarily need all those things, but that's just their next step.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really worry too much about figuring out what your professional thing is. I think usually you kind of figure that out as you go. I would say though, if you are considering something like being pre-med or pre-law or that kind of thing, those typically have a requirement to them. And it's totally okay to like drop them or add them later, but it's just something to like keep a little bit in the back of your mind. But I do know that like pre-med is definitely the most strict, but pre-grad usually just means that you're doing really well in your classes and you've done research. And pre-law actually is like probably the loosest out of all of them. You don't have to major in anything specific. You just have to do well and take the LSAT. So
Yeah, I would add to that unless you are one of those kids who like grows up knowing like I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be a lawyer, you know, my dad's an engineer, I'm gonna be an engineer, whatever it is, like those folks have a pretty like set path. But then I would say a majority, like Areebah said, I would say like 75% of people don't know what they want to be when they grow up. So for those, and that was kind of myself too, if you're considering something and you don't know, two things I would say is try it. So like if you think, oh, hey, I might want to go to nursing school after this, or maybe like PA school or something like that, try just shadowing and seeing if you like it. And then if you do, like go find out what the prereqs are for that path. But even if it's not something set in stone like that, let's say you don't know, I would say take advantage of things like internships that your school can, you know, like help you set up. Because that's the only way you're going to find out. Like I know people who have majored in business and then they did their business internship over the summer and they were like, wow, that was incredibly boring. Like I hated that. I don't want to do that. And that's the time to be like figuring it out. And even if it's something you can't commit to, like, or you can't find, most schools, there are a certain amount of hours that you have to take in the form of like an elective, or let's say you need, like I needed like arts credits or something like that. And because college has a wider variety of classes, like I think I took like radio, film, and television as one of my arts credits. And I just loved that class. Like we actually like watched movies and we wrote essays on the movies that we watched. And people definitely, I was like exposed to a whole other like school that I had never even thought of before, stuff like that. Same thing, I think I took like a sociology family development class, and that was super interesting. And I know one of my friends ended up going into like social work because she loved that class so much, and she got a master's in it. So just try and take advantage of all the different programs that they have, because I guarantee you most folks like don't know what they wanted to be when they grow up. And then of course there's always the joke, you guys have probably seen it, that like, you know, it's an expensive document hanging on the wall. Like it's this piece of paper cost me like 20 grand or whatever it is. So there are definitely people who even, you know, major in it and then they end up doing something else. But if you can, take advantage of all the stuff that college has to offer.
Yeah, I think college is where most people like discover themselves and what they want to do, and you know, just plan their life. I would say is that the best way to phrase it?
I think that's appropriate. I think Hussein though, I think we should move to some lighthearted topics.
Yeah, let's.
Well, I think a lot of people are interested in the football aspect of college and like the sports and stadiums and stuff. Did you guys ever like get into that? Going to the games?
Areebah, did you ever get into that?
Yeah.
If that is something important to you, definitely make sure your school has the infrastructure for that, because Rice is great at a lot of sports, but it is not great at football. It is actually just terrible, awful at football. And even though we're a D1 school and we have a lot of the resources to be like really great at football, we just aren't. So, and it definitely affects the way students perceive other sports. So like if there's not a good football culture, people don't usually show up to like a basketball game or a baseball game. So I would say Rice, and like the nerdier the school, probably the less likely that there's a big sports culture, I'll be honest. But that's not even always the case. Like I know Stanford, for example, has like a giant, like great at football. They're amazing. Oh no. Wait, time out.
Technical difficulty.
Sorry guys, the AirPod fell out.
Fine.
Okay. But I will say there's like a there's big apathy towards sports at Rice, and you kind of have to like build it yourself, and that's something I took for granted because I came out of Science Ranch, which was like great sports culture. Everyone loved going to football games, and at Rice I definitely feel the lack of it.
Okay.
So.
UT is the exact opposite. My dorm, I could see in the stadium, like UT obviously huge in sports, Longhorn Network, they recruit like the best of the best out of Texas. So there's a huge, not only like football culture, but there's a big sports and the social aspect of sports. So that morning, like if you happen to wake up early on a Saturday morning and you're walking, even at like 9 a.m., the entire like UT area, like everything surrounding, and UT's like within Austin, so it's like downtown. So it's kind of strange to see it all cleared out. All cars have to be cleared out because they start setting up tailgates like from 9 a.m. all the way to game time. Huge, it's a big part of the culture, though it doesn't mean like everybody's into it. Again, big school, people are into it, people are not, but I definitely think like UT pours a lot of money into that. But that goes for anything. Like if you're looking to be more of a social person, like you can find spirit groups or like social groups to be a part of that go to the games, they rally, they do the face paint. I will say though, UT, your ticket is not included. It is an extra cost. So be prepared for that. Yeah. But the
at Rice, they're
always
begging you to come, so everything is free. Doesn't mean to go.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of the social life over there, how is it like? What's that called? Like dorm life. Like when y'all were in the dorms.
In the dorm.
How was it? Like.
I had a really good time in the dorms. One, I got super lucky and got a dorm like with a bathroom.
Okay.
So
Wait, there are dorms without bathrooms too, huh?
No, where you have to like share a bathroom with the
Oh,
floor,
God,
like
okay.
a communal bathroom. I didn't have that situation, so I had one in my room. But I also roomed with somebody I knew from high school. She wasn't like a best friend or anything, but I knew her, which made me feel a little bit more at ease. But like I said, the people that I met freshman year in the dorms, like still like the girl who lived across the hall from me is my best friend like to this day. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and UT makes sure, and I think Rice does this too, they make sure that people you live around and people in your major like appear in 3 of your classes, so that you kind of start seeing, even though your class size is maybe 300-400, you see the same like 25 faces over and over again. So it was a really good way to make friends. And the dorms always put on events too for you guys to get to know each other. I think the first week there's a lot of like open door night, and you guys can like come in and out of each other's rooms and get to know each other. It is an adjustment to like share a room, because then you want to be nice to the other person and say, hey, like if you're staying up, you want me to turn the TV off or whatever it is. So that was an adjustment, but I had a lot of fun in the dorms. I wouldn't recommend it for all 4 years, but I did have fun the freshman year.
Yeah, how was like
what would you say? Yeah, what would you do in the free time? Like, would you go? And also, people were wondering about frats. I don't know about Rice because y'all have college and the houses, but I know at UT it's a little different.
Yeah. So the dorm life, just to like finish that thought. Also, everybody's kind of on their own schedule. You know how I said there's like AB schedules, and as you get more hours, you get seniority, right? So you get to pick your classes first. So I tried my best to like pick afternoon classes, because I'm not like Areebah. I was not an early riser in college. So I kind of knew the faces that were waking up at like 10, 11 and then going to class. Whereas my roommate that I had in the last 3 years of college, she was like go-getter. She had 8, 9, 10 a.m.s and she was done for the day. So kind of the schedule is what you make it. So I tried to space mine out in the afternoon, so I had the evenings to study. But you can certainly put the block in the morning and then study in the afternoon and do whatever you want in the evening. But the social part, because it is UT, so I know a lot of people, there's like two camps, right? Like there's people who are really excited and they want to be in a sorority or fraternity. Maybe their parents were in it and they want to be in the same one. They're like a legacy. And then there's people who like eye roll, like, why would you pay for friends? Like, that's so stupid. They're all like the same. They're like robots, whatever. I think there's something for everyone. So if that's what you want to do, like if you want to find a Panhellenic sorority, fraternity, go for it. It is like a process to do recruitment. So if that's something you're interested in, then I would start looking at that now, because you do have to get recommendation letters from previous people in the same group. And it's like a whole thing. There's rush week, hazing. You guys have heard all of that. But yeah, people do it. People have fun. It's like an easy built-in way to make friends. But there are also like like sorority fraternity like groups. Like there are social groups that are, hey, everybody in this group is a pre-law major, so we're gonna do all pre-law things. We're gonna have mixers with other pre-law people and other pre-law orgs. And then there's ones that are like I know at UT, there's like brown sororities and brown fraternities, and then there's like Asian sororities and Asian fraternities, and like it's kind of weird because it almost feels like people are like grouping themselves in these like little, like, I don't know, cultural or ethnic background. But if you are there and you're like, hey, I went to a school where I didn't really get to meet a diverse group of people, it might be a good way to like get to know like a giant group of people. And they have events planned out for you. And usually there's an association to some sort of charity or volunteering group with them as well. So I don't think they're a bad thing. I think they're something to like look at, and definitely if you're interested, the first couple weeks they're out there like scouting, they're handing out flyers, they're like, come to our events, come to our meet and greets. So definitely check it out.
Yeah. Hussein, you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I think going back to the bigger topics, how would you, did high school prepare you for college, do you guys think? Or was it like really easy to adapt?
Or did they do not prepare at all?
Like academically?
I mean, yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, I think academically, I think that would be more important.
Ooh.
It's pretty much useless, huh?
That's difficult.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say.
Yeah.
I would say, I think I learned a lot from high school about time management, because I feel like I was really busy, and like I know ushers and band and that sort of stuff. So you get home kind of late and you still are doing your homework. You don't really put yourself in those positions in college a lot of the time because you have more time during the day. But if you're kind of used to thinking about how you need to use your time and how you need to prioritize things, I think school helped me and high school helped me in that way for college. But the actual coursework is not going to prepare you that much. Like even your AP coursework, it's definitely more challenging than maybe some of the other stuff, but it is like another and it's just like way more self-directed, I would say.
I mean, I think before we 100% go into those topics, I had a couple questions. I was like thinking, we were thinking of what do y'all, like in the free time, we already talked about it, but like, do y'all go out of campus? Do y'all do that? Like the first couple years, are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
We did that. UT, you can do, I mean, it's not like a closed campus or anything. So the other thing is like, not everyone has cars.
Yeah,
so UT Austin, at least, it's like I said, within the city. So like you can walk to downtown. It's like you're in downtown already. But Austin had a lot to explore, usually because most folks at UT are from Texas. Some people will have their cars. Like I took my car. So we could explore Austin. I had a really fun time. I had actually never really like explored Austin before. The only thing is money. So like I got a job because I was like, well, if I want to go like have fun, then I need to get some sort of part-time job. And if you can find an on-campus part-time job, like I was a lab TA, that was super sweet, right? I just went to lab, TA, made a couple dollars to spend. But yeah, there's no restrictions. You can go out with your friends and like explore downtown, explore like kayaking and all the different stuff that Austin has. I'm sure Rice was the same, right, Areebah?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have cars, but we were like kind of in the heart of the city. So even though Houston's not that walkable, there were like Rice Village was close by. People went out to eat, did stuff down there. Herman Park was close by, so sometimes people would go have picnics or go jog over there. So there's always options. And I definitely think as time went on, people wanted to branch out more and more.
Yeah.
So
I think in the job perspective, was it easy to get jobs, and did y'all only do in-school jobs or
Yes.
how did it work?
I had both. I had jobs through school, and I had jobs that I'd found outside of UT. So the ones that I found, like, and I think this goes for any school, you can probably, they have like a job board
Okay.
listing, I guess, for within your school's network. Um, and those are probably going to be the easiest ones, right? Because then you don't have to worry about transport or anything like that. But they have another board at UT that's like Austin businesses looking for students to hire. So I found a job at like an eye clinic because I just wanted some like exposure to that, and that was fine. I had my car, so it wasn't that big a deal. I would just say don't take on too much because time management is going to be key. It might not feel like you have a lot of homework per se, so you're like, oh, that's fine, like I can pick up another shift or whatever it is, but it's a lot of self-paced stuff, so it's up to you to be like reviewing and taking it in, and like it's not very feasible to cram everything the night before the midterm in college. I will say that. In high school, I feel like you don't really need to study too much depending on what kind of class you're in. Maybe you study the night before, you're okay. I would say college is the opposite, so you really need to be like taking ownership and studying.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't pay attention at all in class. I sure can be the.
It's not good, Pre.
Not.
I mean, what do you mean, dude? I mean, I've been in both of their classes, and I'm like on my phone most of the time. And I think in a previous episode we talked about it. I think if I wanted to, I probably could, but I get pretty much good, decent grades already. So I think in college I'd probably have to focus a lot more, I would say.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call for people who are like used to, even if you're like in AP classes and you can get by by just like studying the night before. It was definitely a wake-up call to be like, oh, actually, like I need to study like regularly, but that's
I think it'll be good for me too, rather than wasting my time this whole time.
How would you guys say, like, what's the difference between studying in high school and college? Like, what are the different methods you guys would use for those big tests compared to high school and college?
I think in high school, I didn't really ever practice anything. Like, even for math, I would just, like, look at an old problem I did and be like, oh, okay, that's how I did it. And then I'd be okay. But I think in college, they challenge you a lot more to... They like ask you a question in a different way. It won't look exactly the same as your homework problem, or it'll be more of like an application of a concept, and you really aren't supposed to know how to do it. You're supposed to just try your best, and that's what they're grading you on. So I think for like math and science classes, definitely like breaking it down step by step, making sure you understand every concept before you move on to the next, and making sure you do practice problems on practice problems. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
And then as far as like more memorization classes, I think you learn to somehow get some active learning in there, even though you're doing some rote memorization. So even though you're like doing a practice problem and you don't know what a certain answer choice is, you kind of learn to like go back, look up what that answer choice is, even if it isn't the right one. Learn about that topic, maybe quiz yourself on that topic, and then keep going.
Yeah. And we can ask you another question. We are running out of time.
A little bit.
What advice would you give high schoolers going into college?
Ooh. I think my advice would be that you are not supposed to know what you're doing. I think I was like really trying hard to like know what my major was and know what my path through college was going to be, and I knew it was supposed to be like a transformative experience, but I just like kind of wanted to like hurry it up, but you kind of just have to let it go with the flow.
I mean, did y'all like, what's it called, how homesick did y'all feel like in college? Was it that bad or was it alright?
Mm,
I wasn't very homesick because I was really close.
Yeah.
But I think that's more of a question for Anoosha.
I really I was excited to go to college. I think it was when one would check social media and I would see other people from high school look like they were having more fun
Yeah.
at their school or whatever it
She's
was,
Anoosha, you
and
cut
I
out.
oh, can you hear me?
Dang.
No, can you hear me?
Dang, my better laptop cut out.
No,
Yeah, I
no, wait,
think
I'm
until
here.
she comes back.
no, I'm here.
Oh, she's back now.
No, I'm
Okay.
here. I could hear you guys. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. Maybe it was my internet. So did I ever feel homesick? Two times I felt homesick, not like 2 points in time, but two things that made me feel homesick. One was if I saw friends from high school having more fun on social media than I was having. No, seriously, I would have FOMO. I was like, oh my God, I made the wrong choice. I should have
Yeah.
gone to X school. Like, I should have gone where so and so went. They're doing it better. They're doing it more right. Or if like something was
Mhm.
going on at home, right? Like if it was someone's birthday party, like Areebah or Usher's
Yeah.
birthday, and I felt like I was missing it, I would really want to go home. Now, luckily, UT was only
Yeah.
like 2, 3 hours away, so you really could go home if you wanted to. But I would actually say like try to like ride through it and stick around, because if you're going home every single weekend, then you're not giving yourself a chance to like make friends
Yeah.
because you're gone every weekend, right? So try to ride through it.
Yeah.
Definitely people get homesick, and just remember social media is people's like most fun
Yeah.
time. So like
Mhm.
they're probably
Yeah,
sitting in their room too, or in their dorm thinking like, oh, but so and so's at this game, like I should have gone there. So it comes and goes, but I think as you get more independent and used to it, it
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
fades.
yeah. What about
Yeah.
I think y'all handled the pressure, so called, really well. I mean, was it that pressuring or was it alright? Wasn't too.
The pressure to like
Yeah,
figure out what
that
you want
and,
to do
like,
while you're there.
General college
general
pressure.
like college, like the work and stuff.
How did you deal with pressure in college?
I called my mom and I would say, Mom, oh my God, I have 3 tests tomorrow. So definitely like everyone will go through that. There are stressful times, especially like around finals season. Especially if you like your final grade is like writing on what you make on
Yeah.
the final exam. But I felt pressure more in the last year because I wasn't going to med school. I wasn't like applying to grad school. So I was like, okay, I have to like figure out what I
Mhm.
want to do in the real world. So that's actually when I felt the most pressure. But I know people feel it the first year too. Kind of, they feel lost until they figure out what it is
Okay,
that they want to work towards.
I think that's
Areebah?
yeah.
Yeah, luckily I feel like pressure, a lot of my friends felt really pressured throughout college to make good grades and to succeed or to be as involved as they wanted. So I think making sure you talk about it with your friends, because you're definitely never the only one feeling a certain way. So just like making sure you know that you have people in your environment who want to support you and you're not weird for feeling pressured. It's like something that everyone's
Normal,
going through.
yeah.
Yeah.
I promise everyone is going through it. They just aren't talking about it.
Oh yeah.
Joe, we are
I think
running low on time.
Yeah, I think we
Can
can
I
ask one more question?
One or two more.
Sure.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
more question.
Yeah, I think this might be a hard question, but is there any regrets you guys had in high school?
Yeah.
Like you
In
would have
high
done
school?
differently or studied less?
I burned a
or
lot of
anything?
bridges, and I wouldn't recommend it. Not like purposefully, but I think I just stopped talking to a lot of my high school friends, except for a few, which I think is normal. Like a lot of people kind of figure out who are their forever friends, or even just like the friends they feel like they want to keep in contact with. But there are some people that I'm like, wow, I really wish I could reach out to them and be like, how are you doing? Because they were a big part of my life for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last
And one more
thing
question,
I would
and I
say
think that
is,
would be it.
Yeah, is there anything y'all want college to change? Like, is there something y'all hate about college that you don't
Yeah, any reform
that
or
you
anything
don't
you
like
recommend?
at all? Like,
Mm.
Make it less
I,
expensive.
less
that's
expensive.
exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, it should not cost that much to go to college. Oh my God, it costs so much to go. I mean, not even just like it costs a lot for the
Mm-hmm.
classes. It costs a lot for the books, for the dorms. Like it just adds on, and I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's right. But I think honestly, you will find what you are looking for. So if you're looking for a smaller like college and you know what you want to get in and out, you want to do it in like 3 years or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, you'll do that. If you're looking to go and be social and make a lot of friends and like try a bunch of new things, study abroad, like it's definitely what you make it. So I don't think there's anything like colleges are doing wrong other than robbing people.
Yeah, I think
But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can end it. Yeah. Like what were you saying?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem right now. A lot of people are thinking about college is like so expensive. I don't know if I can pay for it. I think that's the big thing they should change at this point. Because I have a couple friends who are like, I don't want to do college. It's so expensive. It seems useless. But I think we should recommend going to college. It should be a yeah. It should be
I
worth
think
it.
it's worth it,
I think it's worth it.
isn't
Well, I think we are out of time now, but we
Yeah,
want to
thanks
thank
for
y'all for
watching.
coming on the show.
Yeah.
So if y'all
What
want
do
to
you-
plug each other,
I think yeah,
Anoosha?
plug each other. And don't you have some YouTube stuff you're working on, or is it coming in the plans?
Yes, yes. You can find me on Instagram at Anoosha because Anoosha's always taken for some reason. Find me on YouTube, Anoosha Ahmad. That's my channel. Coming soon, guys.
Alright.
Coming soon.
What about
Eva?
yeah, Areebah?
I'm kind of a boomer, so I get a lot of my news from Facebook. So I only really have a Facebook, so I have nothing to plug. But
Alright.
yeah, let's be friends. Sure.
Let's be friends. Send us your questions
and-
if we didn't get to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And remember to follow us on
Rookie Hour.
Instagram at
Yep.
the.rookiehour and subscribe to our
Please
YouTube page,
comment.
to Rookie Hour, and just share it. Yeah, drop a comment, drop a like,
Yeah,
share with
I
everyone you
think-
know.
I think we're gonna end it off. Hussein, is there anything you'd like to add? Like comment something?
it? I think to end it off, I just want to ask if you could go back in time and go back to high school, what would you say to your like 14
That's a great
to
question,
17-year-old
yeah.
self? What advice would you give yourself?
Don't worry. You'll figure it out. Have fun and like do everything. Like take that weird class, join that club, talk to that person that you think is interesting. Like just don't be scared. Just go for it.
Alright, I think that's about it. Do you have anything, Areebah? Or
Areebah, did you want to
Alright.
add anything?
I would tell myself to chill. That's
Have
it.
Yeah.
more fun.
alright, I think
Yeah.
that's what we have today. Signing it
Well,
off.
I think that's it.
Thanks
Thank you
for having us.
listening. I'm Ash-Hur.
Thanks
This
for
was
Yeah,
listening.
thank you.
Hope you
Yeah,
guys
Hope you
enjoyed
like
it.
Comment below. See you guys.